So it's no surprise that I'm a huge fan of the Sonic series. It was the first video game series I ever got into, and even today, still remains one of my favourite series out there. Sure, Sonic's had some unforgivable train wrecks, but for the most part they're at least somewhat fun. I'll be taking into account gameplay, level design, music, how much fun I had, all the above. I would ask you to respect my opinion, but hey, this is my opinion, so it probably doesn't deserve any. Let's go! Jumping into 3D was not the easiest thing for a franchise to do in the late 90s, and Sonic looks like he had a very rocky start. Thankfully in 1998, he finally got somewhere. Sure, looking at it today, it looks really weird, the physics are clunky, and Big the Cat is one of the worst gameplay styles in the series, but I can still appreciate what this game did right. For starters, I had a blast with Sonic's story, with the exception of... These stages are some of the best designed and most fun stages in the series. Emerald Coast is a fun opening level, I love the theme park gimmicks of Twinkle Park, and Red Mountain has some fun platforming. Tails is also fun to play as, even if his flying can break half the stages. I think other than Sonic though, my favourite has to be Knuckles. I loved exploring his stages to find the emerald pieces with a radar that isn't picky on which one you go after first. Amy's gameplay wasn't too bad, she can be a bit slow and her second act drags, but I got some enjoyment from it, and Gary gets to blow up, which is pretty satisfying. Also, for the first 3D Sonic game, there were some surprisingly good boss fights, like the Egg Viper, Egg Water, and the final Beta Battle, even if the character battles weren't exactly up to par. Overall, I think this is a game that did more right than wrong, and what it did right, it did really right, and I think it affected the series for the better, as we'll see with some of the later entries. With how uncreative some of the more recent games have gotten, it's definitely made their more creative phase stand out, before they decided to release Green Hill the video game, in stores November 2018. And it's one of the main reasons why I appreciate the really overhated Sonic Heroes. This game has a pretty unique concept, allowing you to control 3 characters at once: speed, flight, and power. Basically the whole game is you on speed, and switching to the others when they're needed. It's a really enjoyable style of gameplay, and barring Bingo Highway, all of the stages take advantage of this concept, and it leads to some of the most creative and enjoyable levels in the series. Combine this all with colourful visuals, one of my favourite soundtracks, and a superb final boss, and I think it's easy to see why this is one of my favourite GameCube games. It may have some issues like the characters can be slippy, the special stages are awful, and replaying the game 4 times was stupid, but this is one Sonic game I can always come back and replay and have a lot of fun with. After 2 of the modern games, I think it's about time I hit up the classics. Even though I mostly prefer the 3D modern games, I can still enjoy some of the classics. Hell, Sonic 2 was the very first video game I fell in love with, but everything that game had was improved upon in Sonic 3 and K. Sonic 1 felt a little rough around the edges, and Sonic 2's level design wasn't very strong, but Sonic 3 and K is almost perfection of the formula. All of the characters' controls are spot on, and each have their own moves to make them fun to play as. These unique moves also allow them access to their own routes within the levels. Speaking of the levels, they are hit after hit after hit. You start off with one of the best opening and then water levels in the series, but you also got Ice Cap, Mushroom Hill, Flying Battery, and especially the first act of Samdopolis, all of them being a blast to play through. Another thing I loved was the Elemental Shields, especially aside because they gave him extra moves. You also have the 7 Chaos Emeralds to recollect, granting super forms, and if you can grab the Hyper Emeralds, well, have fun breaking the game, even if it sucks that it overwrites the music. If MJ did make this music, then this is easily some of his best work. Solid gameplay, amazing levels, great soundtrack, and spot on controls have made this game age incredibly well. For a long time, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was actually my favourite classic and 2D Sonic game, even when Mania first came out. Now don't get me wrong, Sonic Mania is a fantastic game, and the best Sonic game by far since number 1. It had phenomenal level design, sweet bosses, and a beautiful soundtrack, but it wasn't until the Plus version where it stole the 2D title. So why do I love the Plus version so much? It's because of this beautiful squirrel. Out of every 2D Sonic game, this is easily the most fun I've ever had with a character. I love using his totally not cape feather flying to pull off shortcuts in the levels. Whilst most of the levels in the game are from previous games, they're remade incredibly well, combining familiar elements with fresh elements. They're basically how the classic stages in the Sonic generation should have been handled, but where this game truly shines is the brand new stages. Studiopolis is a blast to run through, Mirage Saloon makes some great use of the character abilities, Titanic Monarch is a badass final level, and I cannot get enough of the beautiful Press Garden. Hell, Act 2 is one of my favourite 2D levels out there. The characters are all fun to play as, the level design is tight, the soundtrack is beautiful, and the game plays beautifully. If you own a console that this is available on, you really should play this game. Sega, please let this team make another Sonic game like this with all brand new levels. Even before I started scripting this list, I already knew what my number 1 was. Yes, holy, yes! Sonic Generations is a Sonic fan's dream. Combining classic and modern Sonic into one game was a brilliant idea. I know I just criticised the classic stages in the previous game, but that was mainly for the physics. Yes, the classic physics suck here, but that does not change the fact that these stages are so well designed and so much fun to play through. Sky Sanctuary, Crisis City, City Escape, and more I've had loads of fun with, and with how many routes there are in these stages, there's loads of replayability. But what cements this game at number 1 is the modern stages. The high-speed sections are thrilling, the 3D platforming is borderline perfect, and like the classic stages, they have many routes to go down, and some of these stages can go outright nuts with them. This is easily the most fun I've ever had with a platformer, let alone a Sonic game. Another highlight for me was the boss fights. Sure, the final boss sucked and the Extra Doom wasn't too impressive, but the character battles are all a blast, and the Perfect Chaos fight is a joy to go through. On top of this, you got breathtaking visuals, sweet remixes, a huge amount of challenging stages, loads of fun collectibles, and the ability to customize your power-ups to your liking, further increasing replayability. And you have a package that I think anyone should get. It's definitely not perfect, but this is a game I've loved since I first got it in late 2012. This has been Inkling Gaming, and Sonic Generations is my favourite platformer of all time. See you guys later.